Hello everybody, it is LB3 Point Man and I'm here with another kind of video for everybody. This week we are doing a video where I have taken Andy Dalton and traded him to every other team in the AFC, and then simulated the entire season, and I come here with the results to share with everyone. A couple ground rules: if Dalton didn't play half the games, I restarted the season, and what we're going to do is we're going to go through each team's season from worst to best, and obviously starting with the Browns, who Andy Dalton went 2-13-1 with. Now, at first his stats won't look too bad, 3,717 yards, but then eventually you'll get to his touchdown interception numbers, which are 2014 levels bad in 19 and 14. His completion percentage is 62%, and his yards per game, 232, is not very good, with an overall rating of 86.9. Next up is the Colts with an overall record of 4-12. If he got fired, so we couldn't see the stats, but he finished the season with a record of 4-12, and his stats, he actually didn't have terrible stats. He had a 3,903 yards, 22-13 touchdown interception ratio, 89.4 QBR. So overall, not a terrible season. It's just that I guess the Colts had a horrible season. And coming up next, we have the Broncos with 5-11. I think Dalton, actually, this might be his worst season. 3,000, almost 4,000 yards. It's a lot of yards, but 21-19 touchdown interception ratio, 78.6 quarterback rating. Overall, a bad season for him. Now, I was kind of surprised by this one. I thought that this would be one of his better seasons, considering how elite the Broncos defense is, but I guess not. Up next, we have the Jets, also at 5-11. I'm not surprising anyone. He actually did not play the whole season here, but he played 9 games, so it counts. 1,900 yards, 96 touchdown interception ratio. Up now is the Bills, who he went 6-10 with. 3,709 yards. It seems very similar. 20-11 touchdown interception ratio, 93.3 quarterback rating. That's not bad at all. He had a decent season. It's just that the Bills altogether had a bad season, I guess. I mean, 8 yards per attempt is a pretty good number for a quarterback. Next up, we have the Jaguars, who are also 6-10. 3,704 yards. He's pretty consistent in yardage. 18-10 touchdown interception ratio. A 89.7 QBR. It's overall a decent season for him. Again, nothing spectacular, but he continues to be steady Andy, just continuing to do decent. Next up, with an 8-8 season, we have the Oakland Raiders. Oakland's coming off a great season with Derek Carr, but apparently Andy Dalton cannot take the Raiders to the same heights in Madden. He threw for almost 3,400 yards, 21-10 touchdown interception ratio, only 59% completion percentage, which is shockingly low. Only 212 yards per game, and only an 85.8 quarterback rating. Overall, not a great season for him. Another 8-8 season with the Dolphins came up next for Dalton. He had 3,534 yards on 63% accuracy with 28-10 touchdown interception ratio. He had 220.9 yards per game, a 95.9 QBR, and 7.3 yards per attempt. I don't think that's any worse than Tannehill has, but still. With this one, he was with the Titans, where he went 10-6, but did not make the playoffs. He had a pretty good season, really, for almost 4,000 yards, 62% completion percentage, 26-11 touchdown interception ratio, almost 250 yards per game, and a 93.6 quarterback rating. Is all very good numbers. 7.6 yards per attempt. And then for his first season of making the playoffs with the Bengals, actually, he made the playoffs with the Bengals when I simulated this. He crossed the 4,000 yard mark. He had a 66% completion percentage, which is fantastic. 31-13 touchdown interception ratio, to over 260 yards per game, and 102.2 quarterback rating. So hopefully that this simulation is a sign of things to come, although sadly the simulation did not show good stuff in the playoffs. So I'm going to show you his playoff stats, which are really bad. He had a 61.8 quarterback rating, 259 yards, 1 touchdown to 3 interceptions. His longest pass was only 23 yards. Lost to the Jets with Bryce Petty. Overall, not a good playoff game. All right, moving on to the Chiefs. with the Chiefs, they made the playoffs. He had a 3,380 yards, 300 and 475 attempts, 63% yardage, 29.7 touchdown interception ratio, a 98.5 quarterback rating. It's honestly a very Alex Smith type season still. He just steady, not high yards per attempt, lots of easy passes, nothing dangerous. That's why his interception numbers are so low. And then I actually didn't get the playoff stats for them, but they lost in the wild card. And the Ravens, I didn't get the regular season stats for, but here are their wild card game stats, which the Ravens lost. But he had a great game. And now we're moving on to the Texans, which Andy had a pretty good season with. He had over 4,000 yards, a 64% completion percentage, 35 touchdowns to 11 interceptions, 99.2 passer rating. Is very impressive. And then they made the playoffs. They lost in the wild card also against Baltimore. It was 30-10, I believe. And Dalton had about as bad of a game as you could have. 14.5 quarterback rating, 93 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, along with 17 yards, 2 sacks, and 10 completions on, I believe, 31 attempts. Do I ever scroll over? I believe that is 10 completions on only 31 attempts, on over 30 attempts, and that is honestly a pretty pathetic showing. Let's hope that is not a sign of things to come in the playoffs. And then now we're moving on to the Steelers, who is the first team that he won a playoff game with. So weirdly enough, almost 4,500 yards, a great season, 31-11 touchdown interception, 65% completion percentage, 275 yards per game, 101.8 quarterback rating, 8.3 yards per attempt, a great season. They lost to the Patriots in the conference championship to go to the Super Bowl. He didn't have a bad game. He was 343 yards, 100.3 passer rating, 4 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions. He honestly had a pretty good game, but just it wasn't meant to be against the Patriots. And now on to the Chargers. Dalton, I'm just going to tell you now, made the Super Bowl with the Chargers and the Patriots. I'm going to show you stats real quick with the Chargers, and then I'm just going to let it go into some Super Bowl highlights over some music.